Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Monday Night Raw tonight was from the Fiserv Forum in Milwuakee, Wisconsin. And Monday Night Raw tonight, we had AJ Lee return to Monday Night Raw for the first time in 10 years. And she cut a really good promo, and it revolved in a great segment. We had, of course, more of the Usos and Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker to start off the show and also to end the show. I'm like, if I have to see another opening or closing to Monday Night Raw that involves the Usos, Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, I'm going to have a fucking cow. It's the same shit. It opens with Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, the Usos, and then you throw LA Knight in there. It's the same fucking opening. Same with the close to the show. Same fucking closing. It's like rinse and repeat. WWE is rinsing and repeating this whole shit with Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, the Usos, and LA Knight. It's like, can we get a different opening and a different closing that doesn't revolve around Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, the Usos, and LA Knight? Come on. It's like Groundhog Day every single week with the beginning and end to the show. But as a whole, Monday Night Raw, we had good wrestling tonight, but just at points, the show just felt boring outside of the AJ Lee segment. But tonight on the show, we had AJ Styles in action. He had taken on El Grande Americano. We had Raquel Rodriguez in action, and she had taken on Lyra Valkyria. Rusev ended up taking on Penta El Cero Miedo. Asuka was in action, and she had taken on Nikki Bella. Yeah, Nikki Bella in the ring, competing in a match in 2025. And the main event, Bronson Reed versus LA Knight. Yeah, no surprises happened in that match. Same fucking shit every single week with the ending to this show. Main event always involves Reed and Breaker and the Usos and Knight. But overall, Monday Night Raw, outside, like I said, of the AJ Lee segment, I found it to be a very boring show, in my opinion. But anyway, let's jump right into the review. Monday Night Raw opened up tonight with Mr. Yeet, main event Jey Uso. He made his way through the crowd. Everybody was eating along. And then he was joined by his brother, Jimmy Uso, Big Jim. And they made their way through the ring. So they got into the ring. The fans there in Milwaukie were chanting one more time. So we had 5 minutes worth of yeeting from the fans. So Jay ended up getting on the mic. He ended up saying that the Usos are now in your city. He then addressed the Vision, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and Seth Rollins. He ended up saying that Seth Rollins and the Bronies, the Bronzes, the Brusos, whatever you want to call them, they screwed up. So then the Usos got interrupted by Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. So Braun Breaker got on the mic. Breaker ended up asking Jimmy Uso if he's lost, because this is Monday Night Raw, and the Vision runs the show. Breaker ended up saying that the Usos got some nerve after what Roman Reigns did to Paul Heyman. And he was just so pissed off that he was foaming at the mouth that Bronson Reed had to hold Braun Breaker back. So Breaker wanted a piece of the Usos. So Bronson Reed got on the mic. He ended up saying all he wants from the Usos is for them to acknowledge their tribal thief, which of course the fans were chanting OTC. Bronson Reed ended up telling the fans to shut up. Reed then ended up telling Jimmy to listen to him. But of course, Bronson Reed was interrupted by the chants of the crowd going, Roman Reigns, Roman Reigns. So we had Bronson Reed threaten the Usos for them to get put in the hospital, just like they did to Roman Reigns. And Jimmy ended up saying that he knows exactly where he's at on Monday Night Raw. So he ended up calling Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker PB&J security. A little riff of, remember Rollins' guys, J&J Security, where it was Joey Mercury and Jamie Noble in the Authority storyline. So the Usos mocked Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker for taking orders from Paul Heyman, to which Jimmy ended up calling Paul Heyman an orca and a dumbass. So Jimmy ended up saying that him and Jay already went to Adam Pearce and got a tag team match for the four of them at WrestlePalooza. So Jay was like, oh, we don't gotta wait. Let's get jiggy right now. Yeet. So Bronson Reed ended up saying that they can wait until WrestlePalooza. So this led to LA Knight attacking Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker from behind. So Reed and Breaker end up being down on Knight. The Usos end up diving on Reed and Breaker, and they started beating them down in the aisle. LA Knight and Jey Uso took Bronson Reed into the ring. They were trading off punches to Reed. So Breaker ended up coming in, and LA Knight and Jay decked Breaker. So we had Jimmy end up setting Breaker with a super kick. So Knight ended up stopping short of Jey Uso. He sidestepped, so Bronson Reed ended up splashing Jay in the corner. So Jimmy ended up sending Bronson Reed flying with a super kick, and pretty much that was basically that. Overall, same old rinse and repeat segment. Usos come out there, LA Knight, Reed and Breaker, same fucking opening to the show every single week. Like I said, this show needs to open different without the Usos or LA Knight or Breaker and Reed. We should have got AJ Lee to open the show right here instead of this. And then we had the first match of the night. AJ Styles. He had taken on El Grande Americano. And this was a decent match here. So AJ Styles made his way out first. Then El Grande Americano ended up making his way out, a.k.a. Ludwig Kaiser. So as El Grande Americano was making his way out, Styles ended up delivering a baseball slide to Americano. Styles ended up attacking Americano at ringside and drove him into the barricade. Styles ended up putting Americano into the ring. Styles then got into the ring. And we had Styles end up ducking an attack from Americano. Styles delivered a Pele kick to Americano. He then clotheslined Americano over the top rope. Styles was in the ring, so the ref ended up calling for the bell, and the match ended up getting underway. Styles ended up hitting Americano with a forearm plancha. He then started chopping away at Americano's chest. So Styles ended up forearming Americano back. Americano grabbed the ref, and all of a sudden, we had a second El Grande Americano out there, where he ended up grabbing Styles' ankle, and the ref didn't even see that. So Americano, Ludwig Kaiser, ended up knocking Styles off the apron, and he ended up driving Styles hard into the ring steps. Styles ended up bouncing over the ring steps. Like his whole body flew over the ring steps. So then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Ludwig Kaiser as Americano ended up hitting Styles with a drop kick. He ended up going for the cover, to which Styles ended up kicking out. He then applied a Cobra Clutch to Styles. Styles ended up fighting up, and he ended up driving Americano into the corner. Americano ended up quickly booting Styles. He ended up going for a tornado DDT, but Styles ended up countering that with an exploder into the turnbuckles. Styles then ended up hitting Americano with a clothesline, and Styles followed that clothesline up with a phenomenal bliss. Styles then delivered a basement driving forearm to Americano. He then ended up hitting a corner clothesline. He lifted Americano. Americano slid off and elbowed Styles. Styles came back with the torture rack bomb. He ended up going for the cover, to which Americano ended up kicking out. So Americano ended up fighting back at Styles. He ended up hitting the flapjack into the top turnbuckle to Styles. He then chopped away at Styles' chest. Americano came off the top rope with a springboard blockbuster. He ended up going for the cover, and Styles ended up kicking out. We had Americano on the outside, the second Americano. He got on the apron. Dragon Lee ran down and attacked the second Americano. He then ended up hitting a diving Hurricanrana off of the apron to Americano number 2. So Americano ended up rolling Styles up. Styles furiously rolled through, and he powered Americano up with a Styles Clash. So Styles ended up going for the cover, and there you go. AJ Styles ended up winning the match. Overall, decent match this was, and not a fan of this El Grande Americano shit, especially, when Chad Gable is in the role. I think this El Grande Americano shit is fucking stupid. Like I said, it makes me think of Hulk Hogan's Mr. America back in 2003. And now we have 2 El Grande Americanos. I'm like, what the fuck? So like when Chad Gable comes back, we're going to get 3 El Grande Americanos? Fucking stupid. And then we had Adam Pearce. He was with Io Sky. Adam Pearce ended up telling Io that Stephanie Vaquer couldn't make it to Raw because originally they were supposed to have a contract signing. So because Stephanie Vaquer couldn't make it to Raw, he had to cancel the contract signing. So Nikki Bella walked up, and she ended up asking about Vaquer. Pearce ended up saying that he doesn't see why she won't be at WrestlePalooza. So Nikki Bella then talked with Io. But then the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, ended up walking over. So Asuka dismissed Nikki Bella, to which Nikki ended up telling Asuka that she doesn't have to like her, but she will respect Asuka. Asuka then ended up laughing, and she suggested that she beat the respect out of Nikki Bella. So Nikki Bella ended up agreeing. So this signified their match for later on in the night. So Io was looking all worried. Kairi Sane started to apologize to Io. Kairi Sane, from what we've seen last week, she's been, apologizing to Io. So pretty much Kairi, from the looks of it, she probably wants to get away from Asuka. But Asuka was like, Kairi? And then Kairi Sane ended up walking to Asuka like a sheep. So pretty much that was basically that. But of course, Io is going to take on Stephanie Valkyria for the vacant Women's World Championship at WrestlePalooza. And then we had Lyra Valkyria. She ended up taking on Raquel Rodriguez. Raquel was accompanied by Roxanne Perez. This was an okay match here, in my opinion. So both women end up locking up as the match got underway. Raquel ended up powering Lyra down onto her face. Raquel then powered Lyra up, but Lyra ended up sliding to the apron. She got into the ring. Lyra kicked away at Raquel's legs. Raquel quickly applied a front face lock on Lyra, and she kept swinging Lyra around the ring. So Raquel took Lyra down, and she kept throwing her to the corner. Raquel then applied a waist lock, but Lyra ended up elbowing out of that waist lock. Lyra then ducked a clothesline from Raquel. She went for a crucifix pin, to which Raquel ended up fighting out of it, so Lyra applied a guillotine. Raquel then powered out with a delayed vertical suplex attempt on Lyra. Lyra slid out, and she had pinned a pair of run shoulder tackles, but Raquel ended up absorbing those shoulder tackles. Raquel then ended up catching Lyra, attempting to run and cross body, but Lyra ended up getting out of that. Lyra then delivered an arm drag, which after that arm drag, she followed up with an enziguri, which knocked Raquel out of the ring. So Lyra then delivered a wrecking ball drop kick to Raquel. Lyra got Raquel back into the ring. She ended up going up to the top rope. Lyra jumped off the top, which she then got caught by Raquel because Lyra was going for a crossbody. So Raquel then ended up delivering a fallaway slam to Lyra. Raquel then pulled Lyra to the corner, and she pulled on Lyra's hair and also her legs to twist Lyra around the ring post. And Lyra's back was bending over the ring post, which that was crazy. So Raquel then ended up hitting a slingshot twisting corkscrew elbow to Lyra. And then Raquel ended up hitting a second one. She ended up going for the cover, to which Lyra kicked out. So then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Raquel had the upper hand in the match. She ended up applying a backbreaker to Lyra, but Lyra got out, and she ended up rolling Raquel up, to which Raquel ended up kicking out at 2. Raquel then transitioned into a modified Boston Crab on Lyra. Raquel quickly got up, and she ended up kicking Lyra in the face. Raquel then ended up sending Lyra into the ropes, but Lyra ended up taking Raquel down with a drop kick, it looked like. So at the end of the match, we had Raquel end up delivering the Tejada bomb onto Lyra. She ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Raquel Rodriguez ended up winning the match. Overall, it was a okay match in my opinion. It was sloppy at points, though, but still, it was okay. I thought Lyra and Raquel did a okay job here together in the match. And then we saw Penta. Penta was talking with the War Raiders, Eric and Ivar. Penta then bumped into Adam Pearce. Penta then ended up asking Pearce why he doesn't love him. Pearce then ended up telling Penta that he is super impressed with him. Penta ended up telling Pearce that he wants a title shot against Seth Rollins and that he will be the champion. So Rusev walked over. So Pearce wasn't following the plan. Rusev ended up telling Adam Pearce that he isn't following the plan. He ended up saying that he returns. He beat Sheamus. And that Pearce is wasting his time with clowns. Penta then got in Rusev's face. Pearce ended up telling both Penta and Rusev to prove it in the ring. So Pearce made the match for later on in the night, Rusev versus Penta. So pretty much that was basically that. So this signifies that Rusev is going to be getting a good push. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, AJ Styles was with Dragon Lee. Styles ended up telling Dragon Lee that he appreciates him having his back. Jimmy Uso walked up and he greeted Styles. So Jimmy ended up finding Jay, who was getting ready to leave the arena. So Jimmy was like to Jay, "Where are you going?" And Jay ended up telling Jimmy, "I'm leaving." Jimmy ended up saying to Jay that they need to help LA Knight. So Jay ended up telling Jimmy, "I am done with LA Knight. Knight tried to get me. What about him? What about them?" He ended up telling Jimmy that helping LA Knight won't get them to WrestlePalooza or get him the World Heavyweight Championship. So Jay ended up saying that they need to acknowledge them or they'll smash all of them. So Jimmy ended up saying that Jay isn't sounding like himself and that he's sounding like Roman Reigns. So Jay ended up saying, sound like himself might not be worth it. Jay then picked up his bag and he left the arena. So pretty much that was basically that. So Jimmy is seeing a little change in Jey Uso, in his brother, which I will get to in the closing segment of Monday Night Raw here. Then we had AJ Lee. AJ Lee returns to Monday Night Raw for the first time in 10 years. She reappeared this Friday on SmackDown in the main event segment of SmackDown, which got a big ovation there in Chicago. And AJ Lee got a big ovation here in Milwaukie. And AJ Lee ended up signing a multi-year deal with WWE, so it's not going to be a one-off with AJ Lee like I was thinking. Like she would just come back for the match with her and Punk to take on Rollins and Becky Lynch. But no, she signed a multi-year deal. So after this match with Punk and her, teaming up to take on Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, there's going to be other competitors for AJ Lee to compete to. Start booking all the dream matches of women that AJ Lee could face on the roster. So AJ Lee came out. Big ovation from the crowd. And she was wearing the Women's Intercontinental Championship, which she took from Becky Lynch on SmackDown. So she got into the ring. Of course, when she came down to the ring, she did her famous skips to the ring. So the crowd was chanting, "Welcome back" to AJ Lee. To which she ended up thanking the fans. So AJ Lee ended up saying that for those who weren't here 10 years ago and why their millennial parents were excited on Friday, she ended up introducing herself. She ended up saying that her name is AJ Lee and she is your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler. I like how the way that she said that. She is your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler. So the crowd started chanting for her. She ended up saying that 10 years ago, she retired. She ended up saying that the reason she retired is she felt like she had accomplished all of her dreams in wrestling. She ended up saying that she was content and hung up her Chuck Taylors. And I like how AJ loves her Converse Chuck Taylors. Everybody loves wearing Converses. She ended up saying that she thought it was the end of her story and that she never entered the ring wearing jean shorts that were 2 sizes too small. She ended up saying that she went on a journey to accomplish all these crazy dreams she had in life. And she did it. You know, if you follow AJ Lee on her social media, she's done, quite a few things being out of the ring. She had her, I think she did a comic book with, what's her name? The actress from Lucifer. Can't remember her name, though. But I seen them do stuff together on social media. And she looks a little like AJ. Oh, God, Amy Garcia. That's her name. Her and Amy Garcia end up doing like a comic collab together. Well, you see her, she looks a little like AJ, the little bit of the face and all. I mean, I see it. I don't know if you guys see that. If you've seen Amy Garcia, if you watched Lucifer. So she ended up saying, most importantly, she went on a mental health journey, which bravo for AJ Lee, expressing and telling about mental health because, it is something that, people, have. And I like that mental health is actually being acknowledged by some people, and some people understand what it is. So she ended up saying that she wasn't healthy and she took care of herself and got it right. She ended up saying that she went to therapy and got treatment, which this led the fans to chant, "Therapy, therapy, therapy." So AJ ended up saying that she found a way to turn the mental chaos into a superpower. She ended up saying that the fight isn't easy. She ended up saying that if you're going through the same thing, the fight is worth it. You are worth it. She ended up saying that she was doing really good for a long time. Then she watched Monday Night Raw. She ended up saying that healing isn't linear. AJ ended up saying that it's one thing to see your husband, CM Punk, fighting Drew McIntyre, John Cena, or Seth Rollins. She ended up saying that's another thing entirely to see him in the ring with Becky Lynch. So AJ ended up saying that she wanted to like Becky. She ended up saying that Becky is a leader and a rebel, as well as a New York Times best-selling author, like she is. But AJ ended up saying that she did it first. She ended up saying that there is a world in which they could have been friends. She ended up saying that she went and motorboated her husband. She ended up saying that she put her hands on him, berated him, and defamed him. Which this led to Becky Lynch coming out there. Becky Lynch was dressed in red It looked like she raided her husband's closet, something that Rollins would wear, where she was dressed in red. She was wearing these sunglasses, these big red sunglasses. So AJ Lee was happily waving at Becky, just like how Rollins waved as CM Punk came out on SmackDown on Friday. So the crowd loudly booed Becky. So Becky got on the mic. She ended up saying that this has nothing to do with AJ's stank-ass husband. So Becky was like to everybody, "Are you insane? Has nobody noticed? Are you stupid? Of course they are." She kept saying that we're in Milwaukie. She kept saying that AJ is wearing her Women's Intercontinental Championship. She kept telling AJ, that is my title, the most important in the division. She kept telling AJ that they are nothing alike because she is the greatest female wrestler of all time. The same promo that Becky ended up cutting, where she goes on to say, "I am the greatest female wrestler of all time. Other people say it. Sports Illustrated said it." We've heard this before from Becky. She's delivering the same promo. Probably just give Becky a shirt that says, "Oh, well, Sports Illustrated said I am the greatest female wrestler of all time." So Becky was like, "I need to go to therapy after this." So she ended up saying that AJ Lee doesn't deserve to put a finger on her Women's Intercontinental Championship. So AJ ended up saying, "Oh, this is so embarrassing," because she forgot she was wearing the Women's Intercontinental Championship. She ended up telling Becky that she's been skipping around the house with the title all weekend with it. So Becky ended up telling AJ to cut the crap. Becky then took off her big red sunglasses and she revealed a black eye, to which AJ Lee ended up punching Becky on SmackDown on Friday, which that is resulted to Becky showing that she got a black eye. So AJ ended up telling Becky, "Oh, you're sporting quite the shiner. Was that something I did to you?" So AJ ended up apologizing to Becky for giving her a black eye. AJ sarcastically ended up saying that since Becky is the greatest of all time, she should come into the ring and take the title. AJ then laid the Women's Intercontinental Championship down on the canvas. Becky started heading to get into the ring, but she stopped herself. This led to the crowd chanting "chicken" at Becky. The crowd ended up calling Becky Lynch a chicken. So Becky was like, "Oh, I'm not a chicken." She then called AJ Lee a Jersey trash bag weirdo. So Becky ended up saying that she wants her Women's Intercontinental Championship. She ended up saying that she had to bathe in bleach after touching her greasy husband, to which that led to a CM Punk chant. So Becky ended up asking AJ, what kind of man hides behind his wife? She ended up saying that AJ Lee didn't need to stick her neck into their vision. So Becky then called for her hot husband to come out. Of course, Seth Rollins. So Seth Rollins ended up coming out. Rollins was like to Becky, "I'll handle this." So Rollins ended up telling AJ Lee to give Becky her Women's Intercontinental Championship back, because Rollins was like to AJ, "This is very simple. We can make this super easy." So, like I said, Rollins ended up telling AJ to give Becky the Women's Intercontinental Championship back, and they could all leave this dump of a city as soon as possible. So AJ Lee was like, "That's a really good idea." She sarcastically ended up saying that. But AJ ended up saying that she has a better idea. She ended up saying that Becky could come into the ring and take the title back. But she'll risk getting another black eye. Or she can give Becky the title if Becky and Rollins agree to a tag team match. So AJ was like, oh, how about it would be me and my husband, CM Punk, versus you guys, Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. So Rollins then ended up giving the World Heavyweight Championship to his wife, as well as the sunglasses that he was wearing. So Rollins ended up saying that he knows AJ's been gone for 10 years. But that's not how things work. He ended up saying that he is the World Heavyweight Champion and that this is his show. He ended up saying, these are all my people. And he ended up telling AJ, oh, you don't call the shots. I do. So Rollins ended up saying that he'll come into the ring, take the title, give it back to his incredible wife, and that'll be the end of it. So AJ was like to Rollins, thank you for mansplaining. So Rollins got into the ring. AJ stood in Rollins' way. Rollins ended up going to get around AJ, but she continued to get in Rollins' way. So Rollins was getting a little upset with AJ. And he warned AJ to listen and that the title doesn't belong to her. So CM Punk showed up. CM Punk walked behind Becky Lynch. Punk then got into the ring and he turned Rollins around with a GTS, but Rollins immediately ended up escaping out of the ring. So Rollins was furious and he accepted the match for WrestlePalooza. So AJ Lee then picked up the Women's Intercontinental Championship. She kissed the title and threw the title at Becky's feet. So pretty much that was basically that. Overall, this was a great segment. AJ Lee cut a promo, her first promo in 10 years. And it was good. Liked how the way, she said that, 10 years ago she retired and she felt like she accomplished everything and that she moved on to other stuff that she wanted to do, to which she accomplished. And then, she watched Monday Night Raw and she saw Becky Lynch slapping her husband, CM Punk. So AJ, she looks good. She's more, buff in the muscles. But I'm looking forward to the match at WrestlePalooza. I can't wait to see how AJ Lee is going to look and move in the ring after being out of the ring for 10 years. But very good segment this was. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we had a promo from Bayley. And, they're doing this with Bayley where she's having split personalities. Where it's herself, and then she's hearing her heel side. The ding dong, hello. With the heelish laugh that Bayley, used to do. So Bayley ended up saying that she feels bad about having to hurt Lyra. So Bayley was struggling with the voices, between the hugger and the role model. And she ended up saying that she'll make it right. So where are we going with this Bayley storyline with her having split personalities? Are we going to see Bayley going back to being a heel? That's how the way I see it. So Really want to know more on where they're taking Bayley with these split personalities that she's having. And then we had Penta. He ended up taking on Rusev, and this was okay in my opinion. Match got underway. Penta ended up ducking a clothesline from Rusev. He chopped away at Rusev. Rusev avoided a slingshot from Penta. He clotheslined Penta down, to which he went for the cover. Penta kicked out. Rusev stood over Penta and started punching him in the head a few times. Rusev connected with a short arm clothesline to Penta. Rusev was going for a vertical suplex, but Penta ended up getting out of that. And Penta ended up delivering a head scissor takeover to Rusev. Penta then avoided an avalanche from Rusev, and he delivered a backstabber. He ended up going for the cover, to which Rusev kicked out. Penta started punching away at Rusev, and he kicked Rusev in the head. Penta ended up going to the second rope, but Rusev rolled out of the ring. Rusev blocked a kick from the apron from Penta and tripped him. Rusev then lifted Penta, and he slammed Penta onto the commentary table. So Rusev charged at Penta, who was by the steel steps. So Rusev charged at Penta. Penta sidestepped Rusev, and Rusev crashed into the steel ring steps. So then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Penta had the upper hand in the match. He ended up chopping away at Rusev. Rusev pushed Penta off. Rusev lowered his head, and he ate a kick from Penta. Penta ended up kicking Rusev and connected with a reverse sling blade. Penta then kicked Rusev down and hit a handstand slingshot basement dropkick, to which he ended up going for the cover, and Rusev kicked out. So we had the New Day. We had Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, and also Grayson Waller, to which Grayson Waller has been with the New Day. So they came down to ringside. Rusev grabbed Penta. Penta flipped through. He hit the ropes, and he took out Kofi and Grayson Waller with a somersault senton. So at the end of the match, we had Xavier Woods got on the apron. Penta kicked Xavier Woods off. Penta jumped at Rusev, but Rusev delivered a Machka kick out of midair to Penta. Rusev ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Rusev ended up winning the match. But overall, the match itself was okay. Rusev, he needed the win here. Penta taking the loss here, it's not bad for Penta here. But Rusev really needed this win. Hopefully, this will lead to, Rusev getting the push that he deserves. And leading up to more shots that Rusev could have in this push that WWE will probably give him. Because he deserves a push, Rusev. And then we saw LA Knight. LA Knight was shown warming up, and Jimmy Uso walked in. Jimmy ended up wanting to confirm that tonight was an accident. So Knight ended up saying that he accidentally hit Jay because he didn't move. Knight ended up saying that he isn't interested in Jimmy's help, and that Jay cost him the world title, and that he'll do this himself. There you go. LA Knight doesn't want Jimmy's help, so he wanted just to go one-on-one with Bronson Reed, with no help out there. And then we had Nikki Bella versus Asuka. Didn't even care for this match. Nikki Bella ended up avoiding some strikes as the match got underway from Asuka. She ended up rolling Asuka up, to which Asuka kicked out. Asuka fought back, but Nikki ended up sitting on Asuka for a 2 count. So Nikki Bella ended up hooking a side headlock on Asuka. Asuka whipped Nikki off and absorbed the shoulder tackle to Nikki. Asuka ended up delivering another shoulder tackle to Nikki. Asuka then ended up going for a sneak attack, but Nikki avoided that, and she clotheslined Asuka down. Asuka then sidestepped an avalanche from Nikki, but Nikki quickly booted Asuka back. Asuka ended up quickly kneeing Nikki in the face. She ended up choking Nikki on the ropes. She went for a hip attack, but Nikki ended up avoiding that. Nikki ended up punching Asuka and ended up hitting a spine buster. She ended up going for the cover, to which Asuka kicked out. Asuka then rolled out of the ring to recover. She avoided a baseball slide from Nikki, and because Asuka ended up using Kyrie as a human shield. So Nikki Bella moved Kyrie Sane, and Asuka ended up kicking Nikki in the face. So then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Nikki Bella had the upper hand in the match. She ended up decking Asuka with a forearm. Asuka fought back with a snap German suplex to Nikki. Asuka ended up going to the second rope, and she posed on the second rope. She then attempted a missile drop kick, to which Nikki moved out of the way. Nikki then connected with a pair of clotheslines, which she ended up following up with a drop kick. Nikki ended up putting Asuka in the corner. Nikki then ended up hitting a corner clothesline to Asuka and slinged her down. So, at the end of the match, we had Asuka locking in the Asuka lock on Nikki. Nikki ended up tapping out. So there you go. Asuka ended up winning the match. Overall, didn't even care for this match. Obviously knew Asuka was going to win it. I'm like, Nikki Bella getting the win here against Asuka? No. I can't believe Nikki Bella is still competing in the ring in 2025. So then we saw the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day was celebrating because Raquel Rodriguez beat Lyra Valkyria earlier in the night. Dominic Mysterio then walked in, to which Finn Balor was like to Dominic, I thought you were gone. To which he was talking to Grande Americano. So Balor ended up saying that they're in the dark with Americano, and they want to know what they're getting into. To which Dominic was like, I was just trying to help. It's a lucha thing. He ended up saying that maybe he wouldn't need help if they hadn't been banned last week. So pretty much that was basically that. And then Nikki Bella was walking backstage. She was furious about losing to Asuka. So the Kabuki Warriors walked up to Nikki Bella. And Asuka ended up saying that that's exactly what will happen to Stephanie Vaquer. So Nikki got in Asuka's face and shoved her. Rhea Ripley walked over, which she got a big pop from the crowd. So Rhea was like, is there a problem? Asuka ended up saying that she is the top woman in the company. So Rhea ended up saying that it's Io going for the Women's World Championship. So pretty much that was basically that. Then we had the main event, LA Knight versus Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed was accompanied by Braun Breaker. Same old shit. So, at the end of the match, we had Bronson Reed end up hitting the Jagged Edge on Knight. So, Bronson Reed won the match. Post-match, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker double teamed up on LA Knight. Jimmy Uso ended up running down to make the save. Jimmy ended up super kicking both Reed and Breaker, but Breaker quickly stopped Jimmy with a massive spear delivered to him. Bronson Reed then ended up hitting a senton splash on Jimmy. And so Jey Uso ended up running down to make the save. So Jey Uso didn't leave the arena. Jey super kicked Bronson Reed and he started punching away at Braun Breaker. Jey then super kicked Bronson Reed again. Breaker then ended up delivering a spear to Jey. Breaker then stacked both of the Usos up. Bronson Reed headed to the top rope, but LA Knight was shown. He ended up hitting Bronson Reed with a steel chair. So Knight then threw the chair into Breaker's face, and he chased Breaker and Reed off. Knight then checked on Jay, and Knight ended up asking Jay, "Are we good?" So Knight then ended up helping Jimmy up. Knight and Jimmy ended up shaking hands. And then Jay ended up delivering a spear to LA Knight, which that got the crowd to boo Jey Uso. So Jay angrily looked at his brother Jimmy, and that was how Monday Night Raw went off the air. But is this signifying that Jey Uso is going to be turned heel after WrestlePalooza? Maybe this solidified it with him spearing LA Knight and the crowd booing him. So it looks like we're going to be in for a Jey Uso heel turn coming up. And I can't wait. So it's going to be no more yeeting once that happens. But overall, Monday Night Raw, outside of the AJ Lee segment, the wrestling was good, but overall, just was a boring show, in my opinion. But anyway, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoy this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Be sure to check out the Movie Fanatics tomorrow on my buddy Luke Ponto's channel at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be talking about more of the movie news. It's going to be a stacked show. So if you haven't subscribed to my buddy Luke Ponto, go over to his channel, subscribe, and we'll be live tomorrow night at 8. So until then, I'll see you all later.